lot of people in sort of pop culture thinking that this could be the end for Bitcoin.
Yeah, so well, the dip that you're talking about is actually nothing new for Bitcoin. As far as percentage terms go, if we look at it historically, we've seen these types of pullbacks before.
And here we go, live on the stream on a Tuesday. Welcome, sir. Monty Greenspan, CEO, founder, Quantum Economics, Quantum Expeditions, Cora Finance. What else do you have? What else can we add to your title? I feel like you're like Khaleesi, Mother of Dragons, the Breaker of Bones, the Freer of Slave. What else can we add to this title, Monty?
I'm just a dude. That's it.
Just a dude, he says. He's just a dude. Just a dude with a really good app and tracking the prices of all kinds of commodities and digital assets from around the world and across the web. I get it. Hold on. Let me just adjust some of the graphics here, and we'll fix this up. Good. There we go.
We like to build things at Quantum Economics, and we're building out quite a few things, probably more than a dozen projects. It's more of a case of me taking credit for others' work in this case, and me building stuff. Honestly, people come to me and say, hey, I've got a great idea, and I'll say, okay, maybe do this, do that, given the experience that I have in building startups and delivering products. Sometimes it's very small things that need to be changed that can have a lot, that can lead to a lot of success. But the number one thing that I think that a lot of people just overlook completely is consistency. And that's what we talk about all the time on the spaces. That's what makes the spaces great, is because we do them all the time. It's the consistency that brings results.
Yep, day after day. What are you seeing right now? I know you're building a lot, so your attention probably isn't on the markets as much as they used to be. But is there anything on your timeline market-wise as we kick things off, and then we can start talking about the building and some of the projects at QE? But just as we get an overall macro sense of the market and what's happening globally, is there anything on your radar right now that you think folks should be paying attention to?
Yeah, absolutely. So just over the last few days, we've been working a lot on Cora, on her internal intelligence, and so now we've separated it out into 3 different layers. So number 1 is the alert phase, which is fully decked out. We've got about 40 different types of alerts, including on-chain metrics, sentiment analysis from Lunar Crush, breaking news, and all this type of good stuff that any analyst should be abreast of. Back in my day, man, we used to just scroll Twitter, but now it's become impossible. You get nothing useful off of that platform. So, Cora's hooked directly into the APIs, and so she started spitting out these alerts. Next step is, of course, to craft the narrative layer, which is what we've been doing most of today and yesterday. But a lot of the alerts have been going through, and some of them quite significant. Is that we've been seeing huge movements of stable coins onto exchanges, which Cora is interpreting as, or correctly interpreting as, dry powder getting ready to deploy. It's been a brutal few months, especially for altcoins. I know a lot of people want to see 50K, and a lot of people want to see 100K. And so right now we're smack dab in the middle of that. And so, yes, we can expect volatility, but we're literally halfway between those 2 polar projections. I think I don't see any reason we need to get to 50K, to be honest. I think, the market has been conditioned to buy the dip over and over again. And basically what's been happening over the last couple of months, or since the beginning of the year even, is that we've just been seeing every time we buy the dip, it dips even further, and that will continue. That will absolutely continue. As the old saying goes, the pain will continue until morale improves. And That's basically what's happening is the institutions coming in, they've got enough supply that they can shock the market and they can push the prices around a little bit, wash out um, the leverage traders. And, you know, it's kind of funny to see this role reversal happening in crypto, right? Because it always used to be that the dips were, shaking out the tourists, and now more it seems to be the polar opposite, which is that these dips are actually shaking out the high risk traders, and you see that probably the institutions are the ones doing the shaking. Um, and the way that you find the bottom in that kind of market is, you know, when is when did the last dip buyer run out of dry powder? And that's when you find a bottom, and that's when you start going up again.
And you said sentiment right now kind of seems, from your perspective, that we kind of had that bottom is going as low as 74,000 now, sitting right around 77 and some change.
Yes. Exactly. Look, obviously, past performance is not an indication of future results, and nobody can tell the future. But like as far as I see, as far as the indications I'm getting, also the other big indicator is Hernan, and we'll talk to him later today on the Spaces. I'm sure Hernan has turned bullish. He's entered a long position now, which to me, I mean, he's been bearish through. Like
Oh
he's like, call me
man.
call me what you want. He's like, I never called myself a bear. I've been right this whole time, and he's gonna take a victory lap.
A well-deserved victory lap. Good for him. Love his insights and analysis. One thing that we haven't had a chance to talk about in over the past week since we did the live stream is obviously the precious metals. Gold is ripping, silver is ripping. Then we saw a massive pullback and a drawdown in some of those metals as well. Just give me your thoughts and your sentiment on why we saw that, what's happening, the allocation, the risk movement into those kinds of assets, and where do you think it's going? Because I think a lot of people were chasing silver, and it's gone down 40% in one day, where Bitcoin has gone down 40% over 4 months. Just give us your assessment of the metals.
Yeah, look, I mean, I haven't traded gold since 2013, to be perfectly clear, except for the Brexit. That was one night that I traded gold and made a bundle. But I mean, I've been a gold trader since I was 13, and I've been involved the entire run up since from 2009 until 2011, and then it kind of flatlined for 2 years after that. As soon as I heard about Bitcoin in 2013, I was like, we don't need gold anymore. We got something newer and shinier. Um, yeah, that's painful, and you'll see a lot of memes going like Peter Schiff was right and whatnot. But to be honest, um, gold does not have the properties that Bitcoin has, and certainly watching gold skyrocket and actually being treated more like a meme coin at this point, where traders are kind of like looking for short-term profits anywhere that they can find them. And even the crypto, some of the crypto traders are taking leverage longs on gold and silver now, because look, when you're in that kind of market, your goal is to make money. You're going to ride whatever wave is whatever snowball is rolling at the moment, until it turns into an avalanche, and then everybody gets buried under the snow. And that's generally how markets work. We've seen it with meme coins and then meme stocks, and now gold and silver. I mean, it's not incredibly surprising. But for myself, I like to think about things a bit more long term. I like to think about things like, if you're thinking that the world's going to end tomorrow, it isn't. And if you're thinking gold is like the only way to hedge yourself against a collapsing US dollar, it isn't. Is it going to go up more? It could. But it's going to be extremely risky on the way. So trade with caution. If you're looking for something to trade short term, it makes sense in the meantime, if that's if that's what you're looking for. But with short term trading, it can be dangerous, and especially if you're using leverage. If you're looking for something long term, also fine to have it in your portfolio. I mean, I'm not gonna knock it.
Mhm.
I've got gold. I've got gold in my possession. I bought gold. Bought gold with Bitcoin in like physical gold. I have 2 coins that I bought. I had two gold coins and 2 silver coins that I bought using Bitcoin from Swiss Gold at the
Oh,
height
geez.
in 2021, looking for a way to diversify. And so I got these coins here.
You have them right there on your person right now? Oh my gosh, hold on, let me bring that up. Oh, wow.
That's Swiss Gold right there. That is an Australian kangaroo.
Okay.
And then 2 silver pieces here. And was just showing them to my wife. I'm like, probably a good time to sell them now. She thinks gold is going to go up forever. I'm like, you got to take the win when it comes. I don't know. To
Mhm.
be honest, she's more scared of like societal breakdown, and she's like, no, that piece of silver is a loaf of bread. If if the electricity goes down, your Bitcoin's not going to be able to save us. And it's a fair point. What
Yeah,
can I
it's
say?
it's a fair point, but we have seen, I know our friend Gerald Vata and even Caitlin Long mentioned this, that, Bitcoin transactions can be done over a ham radio. I mean, so there are ways, but I get what your wife is saying, and I do think that that's probably wise to have some sort of allocation in a metal like that, just in case those circumstances do unfold. And you never know, especially in the world that we're living in, and the way things are geopolitically. It might make a little sense to have some of that on hand in a nice, safe place that's tucked away. Um,
Yeah, literally. If the electric grid goes down, you got no internet. I mean, and there's no more money. Like literally today. I mean, it's case in point, right? There was on the news around here. Somebody was talking about farmers' strike, and especially the milk is not going to be flowing. I know that people like to call it the land of milk and honey, but people have to, milk the cows and whatnot and produce the milk. And my mother-in-law was watching television, and suddenly she calls my wife. You have to go get some milk right now because there's going to be a strike. They're not going to be producing milk for a while. I go out to the grocery store. I get 10 jugs of milk. And the lady says, no, 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 we have a mandate now. We can only get 2. I said, what is this,
what?
communism or socialism?
Gee.
Communism or capitalism? What kind of country are we in here? And I said, I got 6 people in my family. We're going to go through 3 of these a day. She says, okay, okay, well, separate the bills. They paid in cash and they separated the bills. So, I mean, they know me over there. This is my
Yeah.
local grocery store.
Mhm.
And I do have 4 kids. So, um, literally, oh wow, gold is shooting up again. Nice. So yeah, but an hour later, an hour after I got home, my mother-in-law calls back. Oh, the strike's canceled. They're gonna be resuming tomorrow. Like,
Go get more
well,
milk now. We're good on the
I'm like,
milk.
yeah, plenty of milk for now. um,
Jeez.
but this is a lesson, and you never know what's gonna happen. You
Mhm.
never know, and so it always pays to be prepared. And if the electric grid goes down, it makes sense to have a few coins in your safe.
Yeah. Not financial advice, as we say, but a darn good life suggestion. Um, there's been talk already. It looks like we've got a new Fed chair nominee.
You called it.
Um, yeah.
Hats off to you, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you. Sometimes I get lucky, but yeah, Kevin is the new guy, Kevin Warsh,
And
new
I
Fed.
admire your humility sometimes.
Well,
Literally. I do,
God
man.
God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. So,
You're literally one of the smartest people in the space, I think.
oh,
And
you're too kind.
no, no, you are. And literally, like, sometimes you like come off as like the idiot because that's how you portray yourself. But it's it's like I used to have a hat with the card, the tarot card, the fool on top, and be like,
Yes.
why are you a fool? You're not a fool. Like, well, clearly you don't know what that card means and what's the deeper meaning behind it.
He seems to be pretty, some of his comments in the videos that we've shared already online, he's pretty pro Bitcoin. I almost thought he was virtue signaling with his orange Bitcoin tie he was wearing. So, I think
Right.
that's pretty good. Now, I think the debate and the conjecture right now is around: are we going to get a rate cut? How many rate cuts? And it seems like the market might not even be feeling. We might not even see one. I've heard some analysts saying we might not get even any rate cuts this year. What are your thoughts on potential rate cuts and how that might affect the market moving forward for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so those are some very important points. Number one, just regarding his stance on Bitcoin, I mean, that's kind of a given at this point. We kind of know that anybody that Trump inserts into that position is going to be kind of pro Bitcoin. Trump himself is a meme coiner. I'm glad he didn't, put, some kind of shitcoin slinger in the in that position, to be honest. But I mean, it's not surprising or something that needs to, we need to adjust the narrative about. We know that the White House, the administration, the government, Congress are all pro Bitcoin now, and so we can expect further legislation going forward, no matter who's in the Fed chair position.
Yeah.
Number two is the rate cuts, and while that's important, I think what's more important is the plan to turn the economy around. And between when the new chair comes in, I believe in May, and then the midterms, I believe in November, right?
Yeah.
They've got to provide a significant boost to the economy, politically speaking. And I know that the Fed chair has to state that he's not a political person, but Jerome Powell, as we discussed, has already he kind of like blown the whole lie wide open on that one, with his statement that President Trump was targeting him politically rather than because of his or targeting politically because of his stance on interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
But interest rates are a short-term solution to a long-term problem, and it really is. You could do one cut, and yes, it'll unlock liquidity. But what really gets markets excited is seeing forward guidance, not what's going to happen at the next meeting, but what's going to happen over the next year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what we had, 2013, 14, 15, and especially during the 2020, 2021 rally, was just this kind of mentality that interest rates are going to continue to decline over time for the foreseeable future, and for as long as we, and as some traders and analysts like to believe, there is no tomorrow, but it's always tomorrow. And so over the next few years, we're going to continue to see interest rate cuts. That's what really gets markets bullish. That and the Fed increasing its balance sheet, printing more money in 2020 than was printed in the previous 200 years of the country's existence. I mean, that's kind of a kind of a bullish factor on markets. And so they've been reducing liquidity ever since 2022. That's why we've been having a bear market. And what's going to be the new chairman's policy regarding not just the next few rate cuts, but the next few years?
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to come in, lean on the money printer into the midterms, and then back off of it? Or, what's going to be his strategy? And so until we really kind of understand not who he is as a person, because people's politics change given their position, as we've seen with the previous two SEC chair people, both were kind of pro Bitcoin until they, especially Gary Gensler, he was the biggest crypto advocate until he was,
Mm-hmm.
SEC chairman under Joe Biden, and he had a directive that he couldn't really ignore. And so people's positions definitely change. And so I think that if we were trying to assess, what Warsh's position is going to be, we probably need to look at, Donald Trump and what Trump wants to see from the Fed chair. And that's probably going to be our best forward guidance at this point regarding market dynamics.
Yeah, it looks like I'm seeing some reports and even some of the analysts here online, like maybe one rate cut, and that could be to your point there, right around in that summertime, just before we see the midterms.
Oh
And it
yeah.
looks like we got some positive news yesterday out of the Oval Office. Trump saying that he's pro crypto, he's the big crypto guy, and want to get this Clarity Act done and put into action. I'm just of the mindset that
Do you
once
have
this,
that soundbite, by the way?
yeah, I have the soundbite. I have the audio of it. I don't have the. I should have brought up the video. We could find it here really quick, but I'll just, yeah, I got the sound of Trump. Here we go.
Other than, I'm a big crypto person. I'm the one that probably helped crypto more than anybody because I believe in it. And the reason I believe in it is because if we don't do it, Scott, I think we can say then China's going to do it. Right?
And he was referring to Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, and here's what Bessent had to say following up.
You've made America the digital asset capital of the world. We did the Genius Act for stable coins. Many of the people standing up here are working on the Clarity Bill to market structure. Yeah. And we're bringing U.S. best practices to an exciting new industry, digital assets, innovation, and it spreads everywhere. So the U.S.
And do you agree that?
So he even says there, if you could hear him really in the background, he says, "I hope it gets done." So, and this is off the news of yesterday's, big announcement in the Oval Office with Trump and the team behind him there. I'm of the mindset that if this gets done, and maybe you can walk me through where my logic might be flawed, because this would be a really great exercise. I'm of the mindset that this gets done, then it's Katie bar the doors. There's no reason that Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, everybody and their mom can now issue Bitcoin. They can custody Bitcoin. You'll be able to purchase Bitcoin through your Bank of America app on your phone or whatever Wells Fargo app. I know from past interviews, Ross Stevens over there at NYDIG, they've been working on this way back in 2022, 2021, kind of white labeling services for smaller regional banks to be able to custody and sell crypto. So I'm of the mindset that once this is done, the coverage has been granted. The green light is there. It's all hands on deck. Let's go. It's crypto. And I think that would probably help the economy, and especially if we see a Fed rate cut through the summer, I think that could be a catalyst for the markets and moving into the midterms. Tell me where I might be wrong in my logic. If the Clarity Act does get signed, how is that not positive, bullish momentum to move the market forward?
Oh, it's an excellent question, and if you're asking specifically for me to play devil's advocate, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Well, just because banks have the ability to custody crypto and offer it to their clients doesn't mean that they have the desire to. So those are two different things. Here in Israel, for example, my bank, anytime they hear they're allergic to crypto, they do not want to allow me to transfer anything to or from Binance or any other crypto company, even local bits of gold, right? Which is regulated and legal, and they've won several court cases, against banks that try to block their services, but still the bank will block and hinder as much as they can transfers to and from there. Obviously, they'll do it in a way that puts the brakes on rather than blocks it entirely, because that's illegal. But it's nearly impossible for me to get Bitcoin to and from my Israeli bank account.
Jeez.
And the reason for that is that the banks are petrified. And Bibi Netanyahu, several years ago, and I think it was about 2017, in a closed door meeting that somehow got recorded, somebody asked him about Bitcoin. He said, "Well, I don't know about Bitcoin, but blockchain is going to eventually replace the banks." And that was it. Lockdown. Like a week later, all the banks just shut the whole thing down, and they're just scared. And they have every right to be, because they're dinosaurs, and we will absolutely replace every single service that they have. Blockchain and crypto and Bitcoin can do it much better than them. And so the banks that are smart enough to play in that sandbox, so to speak, will be the leaders of this going forward. You mentioned NYDIG, right? And certainly that makes sense for them, for the smaller regional banks to take a risk, get involved, because they have a lot of upside. And if they're able to offer it, and that's, matters to consumers enough to switch over to their services, then yes. But a company like Wells Fargo, I mean, they make their money by scamming people. Why would they ever want to? Why would they ever want? Like, why would they want to go crypto? There's no desire to, and they're gonna do everything they can to stop it.
I hope we can clip that and make a soundbite out of that. Wells Fargo's job is to scam people.
It's how they make their money. It's not. These are look. I mean, you can. These are matters of public records. The amount of times these major banks have been found guilty and had to pay people money because they did dubious things with their accounts behind the scenes. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not making any major revelation here. I'm just saying what's been verified publicly.
Let's shift gears as we close in on the bottom of the hour. The live stream with Marty Greenspan. So kind of you to join us here in your evening back there in Israel as we kick off the morning here on the West Coast. Closing in on the bottom of the hour. Let's pivot to the stuff that you have been building behind the scenes at Quantum. What can you share with us? Is there any inside alpha projects that you're working on, maybe in the pipeline? Now, I don't want to get you in too much trouble because I know you've got a strong comms department. You got a guy over there that's gonna, hey, put a muzzle on you, and that's fine. I want to respect that. But what can you share? What are you excited about that you're working on in the pipeline right now?
Yeah, with all due respect to our PR team, I am allowed to share whatever I want to share, but sometimes I want to share things that I probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's why, when I worked at eToro, it was always like, as the public face of the company, it made sense for them to try and sometimes rein me in and like, what should I say or shouldn't I say? As far as the markets are concerned, I mean, I'm not making any forward predictions anyways. I'm not like predicting what the market's going to do, and I have a financial license. But regarding what the company's doing, it makes sense for those type of announcements and decisions to be made internally with the team rather than having a single person as a loose cannon and just spouting things out willy-nilly. And so yeah, I will say that there's a few things that are in the public domain already. Number one, the Quantum Smash game. We have been working on rescoring and working on how to incentivize competition a little bit better. And we discussed this on our previous live stream. And we've had a few open door and closed door brainstorm sessions. The question really now is how do we implement it without, implement our plan without disturbing what's already live. And so most likely, and again, I'm happy to get your opinion and anybody else who wants to weigh in. What we'll do is across the top of the game, we'll just write something along the lines of the game is under construction right now, play at your own risk. Prizes won't necessarily be paid out. And then let people like just keep testing it while we're working on the scoring mechanism. Because we've got a good plan now. Basically, the game will run in championships, and each session will last between 6 and 36 hours randomly, without anybody knowing how long the session's going to last. So instead of fixed 1 week, as it is right now, you don't know when it's going to end. You'll get like an alert like an hour before it ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and so it could last a long time. It could be lasting a short time. And then each time you win a session, you don't win the whole prize pot, but you get a crown, basically. And then whoever gets 3 crowns wins the entire prize pot. And then having it progressively more difficult to get more crowns, or maybe 5 crowns to get the whole prize pot. But every crown is more and more difficult to achieve. And what we're trying to do here is to make the prize pot grow, and to incentivize everybody who wants to play to come in and start playing immediately. And because right now, if somebody comes in at the end of the week and like, oh, there's no way that I'm going to ever catch up to whoever's in front of me, that the leader is going to win, and so people end up just not playing. Or what we've seen is people wait for the prize to be the session to be over, and then they come in immediately within the first hour of the session and build up a lead to discourage other players. And I mean, it worked very well in the beginning, but over time it didn't. That methodology didn't stand the test of time. And so the game is still people still enjoy playing it, um, but the incentive mechanisms needs to be worked on. In the meantime, we're also investigating, what it might mean to go multiplayer, what it might mean to enhance the graphics and stuff like that. But we still need to see a lot more proof of concept before investing that kind of time, effort, and money to build a much more engaging, graphically intensive game. We absolutely can and will do once we see certain milestones being hit as far as active players, as far as the amount of tokens being burned. At the end of the day, this is all about tokens being burned. That's the whole purpose of Quantum Smash, is that we have constant buy pressure for people to play the game. We have people who can win the game and get money based on skill, and that's an exciting aspect. And then we have the shrinking supply of QE tokens, which will continue to shrink forevermore. There will never be any more tokens printed. There will only be more tokens taken out of circulation, enforcing the deflationary model.
I like that. That's good. And those also get burned through gameplay as well. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, 20% of every transaction is burned automatically, and you can track that right on quantumsmash.com. You can see every transaction that happens and the amount that was burned, and track it on chain.
Let me shift gears, but still covering things in the quantum universe. Everybody and their mom, at least in this space that is on these live streams, that are on these platforms, we are well aware of tokenization. We understand what that means. But for a lot of people outside of this community, outside of this industry, that's still a weird word, tokenization. What does that mean? Am I token something? Like, I think there's just a lot of kind of, oh, hey, wait a second. But you've been in this industry for a long, long time. You're a financial advisor. You're obviously tokenizing real world assets as far as quantum assets. And we can talk about that in a moment, but answer the question, then you can segue into quantum assets. Is there something that you think should not be tokenized? Because we're seeing the tokenization of everything. Larry Fink has talked about this. We're big fans of tokenization, but what is something that you think does not need to be tokenized?
What is something that does not need to be tokenized?
Yeah. Because I mean, we're talking about tokenizing gold. We're talking about tokenizing vehicles. We're talking about tokenizing real estate. I mean, everything is going to get tokenized. Is there something that does not need?
I don't know that gold needs to be tokenized, to be perfectly straight. I'm still trying to understand the value of that. And I know eToro did an experiment while we were there. I mean, Yoni Assia has been on tokenization since 2011.
Wow.
Like, he's literally wrote a blog in 2011 about tokenization. That's where I learned about it, and how I managed to stay ahead of the curve during that time period.
Mm-hmm.
And around about 2018, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they launched a project called eToro X, which was Yoni Asia's dream of tokenizing everything and tokenizing all the financial assets on the platform. And what we found, and the technology was great, but what they found at the time was that nobody cared. It was literally like, you have eToro, where you can log in and trade gold with CFDs, or you have eToro X where you can log in and trade gold as a token, and nearly nobody opted for the token. Like, if you want to trade gold, You could trade it as a CFD. What do you need the token for? What value does the token offer you over the CFD? The user experience of the CFD is much greater, right? There isn't any sort of major transparency happening or fractionalization that can't happen with a CFD. There's virtually no advantage of trading gold as a token over trade if you're on the same brokerage, right? The only real like if you're trying to hop platforms, right? If you're trying to buy it from one place and sell it to another, or if you're trying to use it as collateral for getting a loan or something like this, the more advanced use cases of a financial asset. And if that's your case, well then yes, there is an advantage there. But then you run into the same trust issues that you would in TradFi, or even more so because those structures are less well established and less regulated than the TradFi options.
Gotcha.
And so I don't actually see much advantage of tokenizing gold. Like to be perfectly straight, I mean, I'm an advocate of tokenization, and I see the wonders that it can bring. Real estate, I think, should be tokenized. I think that's like the main prize of tokenization. However, current regulations in almost every country prevent that from happening, and so the laws need to be changed. And until that happens, that's kind of preventative.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we've found, in quantum assets are the mineral royalties, which to me is the real exciting thing, because this is something that has been a source of passive income for high net worth individuals for decades, if not centuries. And it produces a stable cash flow between 10 and 15% a year. And with the properties that we're getting, that's even set to increase over time. However, I mean, you don't have any of the pitfalls, right? And so we're basically just opening that opportunity up to everybody, right? Previously, you would need to know what you're doing, know who to go to, buy an actual parcel of land, go to the municipality, register it, go to the oil company, make sure that they know where to get, where to send the money. And if you don't know how to do all of those steps, well then, and you don't have the money to get started, well then you're not able to participate. And so what we're doing here on our website is you just go to the website, you put in your email address, and you can buy those royalties, or the rights to those royalties, with the click of a few buttons using credit card, bank transfer, or cryptocurrency. And so it's basically like just holding an NFT that gives you monthly airdrops. It's quite a magical thing.
Sorry, I just had a little glitch there on my end on the computer. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I've got up the website right now.
It's okay. I saw you scrubbing our website.
Yeah, yeah. I was here. I was just bringing it up. Commodity royalty rights verified on-chain digital certificates representing royalty rights linked to U.S. oil and gas properties. And what's the timeline on somebody like, hey man, this sounds like a great opportunity. I want to get involved. They sign up. They could actually have ownership, or not ownership rights, but they could have at least rights to the mineral properties, to the, because they're not owning the land. Let's be very clear about that. You're not buying the land, but you're buying access to the minerals in the land, correct?
Yeah, that's the regulatory clean way to do this, is that the person who's buying the NFT is not buying the property itself. They're buying a claim on the royalties. And therefore, the way we have it structured is we have each property has its own SPV. And that way we don't have any issues of commingling funds or anything like that. But actually, when a customer comes in, they buy the NFT. The NFT corresponds to property that's owned by a specific entity, which was set up for that purpose. That entity is the owner of the land. It receives the royalties, and as soon as the royalties come in, it distributes the royalties out among all of the NFT holders.
Got it.
And yeah, that can sound a bit complicated, but really all you need to know, I mean, it's like, you know, you don't have to know how the engine works to drive the car. I mean, I'm happy to sit here and explain it forever. Anybody who wants to, it's something that excites
Right.
me.
Yeah.
But for anybody who's like, I don't get it, it's too confusing. Well, it's pretty simple. You buy the NFT, you hold the NFT. After a few months, the royalties start to flow in. They flow in every month for as long as that property is active, which can be generations.
And I would imagine certain properties have different yields, right? I mean, maybe a bigger piece of property might offer a bigger yield and a bigger return versus a smaller property, right? And that's probably consummate on the price that you look to get in. And all of these can be purchased with the quantum coin, or how do folks, if like somebody's watching, like, man, I want to get in on this. Maybe do they use a stable coin, Tether, or how are folks actually buying this?
Yeah, well, hit the properties button. Actually, we have a really nice one right now called the Egan property, which is in Oklahoma. And you got to talk to Doug about this on the spaces, because Doug, absolutely, he's very excited. I mean, Doug's been dealing with these properties for 30 years. That's where we have access to the best properties. Again, like anybody can build a service like this, but the real value here is the access to these specific properties where they've been, where Doug and his associates have been researching and understand exactly which ones to buy that are not only producing already a stable cash flow, but also very likely to increase in production going forward. And because this is a newer property, it only has one well, and we know for a fact that they're actively drilling more wells right now, and that they're very likely to be producing more in the near future. So the other ones, the Chest Thumper and Martinez, are good properties, pretty stable, especially Chest Thumper's got 17 wells actively
Jeez.
actively producing. Egan property is already producing well with just one well, and is likely to drastically increase the production. And so yeah, this is definitely one that if you've been sitting on the sidelines for a while and waiting for the right opportunity, this is the one that you want to go for. And so yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. To answer your question, you just hit the blue button that says acquire rights. That'll take you to the cashier. You choose which well, you gotta have an account first. So if you haven't,
Yeah.
you gotta sign up.
Oh, well, yeah, I got my account, but I don't want to do it live on the live stream with my password and all that.
It's just show your password to the whole
Yeah,
world
yeah,
there.
yeah. Gotta,
Yeah, so that'll take you to the cashier, and then you choose which currency you want to pay
okay.
with it in. It's, it could be Bitcoin, Solana, any Ethereum or EVM tokens will work. USDC, USDT. The cashier is pretty smart. And then yeah, once you complete the purchase, you'll get your digital certificate, which is basically an internal scoring, and then the NFT will be claimable within a few weeks.
Okay. And then there's no time limit. Like if Joe Schmidlap is watching the live stream, shout out to Joe Schmidlap.
Hey, Joe.
Joe says, you know what, I want to go in on this. I want to get some action, get some skin in the game. Does this just go on in perpetuity? Then he will always, for the remainder of his life, as long as he owns the NFT, owns that in his wallet or whatever, he will then be paid out. And is this something that he could then pass on
Yeah.
to generations in his family?
Absolutely. Just literally generational wealth. It's been like this for a very long time now. And what we're doing is just opening that up to everyone. And so you don't have to have a large amount of capital to start with. You could start with as little as $250. And yeah, you can absolutely pass that on. And there's certain advantages of doing it this way over the TradFi way, even if you know how to do it in the TradFi way. And some of Doug's seasoned customers are very excited about this methodology as well. First of all, it's much more liquid,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, selling a property is not easy. You own a property and you're motivated to sell it. Go find yourself a buyer, right? With putting it on chain, this can absolutely be listed on a secondary marketplace and be traded in real time. When more wells come online, there's a perceived increase in value in today's world and in TradFi, but that is not, nobody can actually track that on a price graph, right? It's something that you have to go out and there's a whole market, offline market. But NFTs, as we know, can be traded 24/7, and you can actually put a price graph. And as they increase production, you can actually see, the price go up. If some wells go offline, I would assume the price goes down. Obviously, we don't control the price beyond the initial sale, but I would venture to say that over the next few years, as this becomes easier and more more profitable, more popular way to purchase and hold these and trade these type of properties, that the secondary market on chain will be a lot more fluid and a lot more interesting, or a lot easier to deal with, and a lot more transparent than the existing market. And so this is why this project is the flagship of quantum economics at the moment, and what we're pouring most of our attention and resources into right now, because we see this as the way of the future. And obviously, these properties are the best way to get started, but we've got several other asset types that are lined up once we find the product market fit. Agriculture and precious metals, any other kind of passive income play. We've been even talking about music royalty rights, in the spaces. Anything that you can hold on to and gives you a steady income stream. Those are the type of things that should be tokenized.
I know a guy who's working on a project. Tell me what you think about this. I'm just going to pitch this idea to you. He's an entrepreneur, big in Web3, and he wants to tokenize vehicles through GPS, specifically like rental cars, moving trucks, anything like that. And then you tokenize that, and then you can buy into it. So as the vehicle is out moving and the wheels are turning, you're earning. I really like that idea of tokenizing a moving vehicle, or even like a ride share in some way, shape, or form, where that way you could buy into it through a fractional type of NFT deal, where again, you put maybe $100 or $200, you get a small share of the vehicle. And then as that vehicle's going out, you get paid out for your proportion, right? So he's working hard on that.
I'd be very happy to speak with them. In a project like this, it really matters how the tokenomics and incentive structures are set up. So if it's just that you get paid automatically when wheels are turning, well, then you have a mismatch of incentives, because then somebody could what creates value in a vehicle, right? The vehicle itself moving does not create value, right? If it did, then people would just be driving their cars all day long, up and down the highway from San Francisco to LA over and over and over again. That doesn't create any value. What creates value is if you're transporting goods or services or people from place to place.
Like a moving truck.
A moving truck. And the moving truck is getting paid, right, for doing the move. And if you're talking about tokenizing a portion of that revenue,
yes,
well, then absolutely that makes sense. The question again, alignment of incentives and how it's set up and structured. If what you said is the correct way, the wheels are turning, therefore you're getting paid. I don't know about that. Like I think
that was kind of more of a marketing slogan.
Yeah. Maybe change the marketing slogan to reflect how value is accrued and distributed. You know, in our case here, I mean, the royalties are what gets paid out, right? And so that's the value. That's where the value is, and that's where the value gets transferred back to the person who is supposed to receive it. Yeah, and so you have endless amounts of these type of projects, and not all of them are going to make it. So choose wisely and look very deeply at the incentive structure. I'd be very happy to speak with your friend, and if that's something that he's interested in speaking about, I'll be happy to help and make sure that it's done correctly.
What other areas are ripe for tokenization from your perspective, do you see?
Yeah, we spoke about passive income. I think that's really any kind of asset that produces passive income. That's our home base right now. I would say the deep in can be pretty exciting as well, right? Where you have a physical device that is constantly emitting signals and receiving signals. Insofar as it's producing value and the incentivization structures are aligned, well, then that could make sense as well. I think that on a large scale, it makes, you know, we see now major brokers like Robinhood and even the NASDAQ tokenizing equities. So clearly they're starting to see the value in that. And the value that they've focused on, and I spoke with CoinDesk about this last week, or when it went live, was the 24/7 aspect, right? So clearly that is something that consumers and retail investors have been complaining about, to the point of going off of the major exchanges to make sure that they have access to 24/7 price movements. In this day and age, it doesn't make any sense that the market is closed from Friday night until Sunday night. It absolutely is ridiculous. It's always something that's been ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But the brokers enjoyed it because while the markets are closed, they had the opportunity to manipulate prices, coordinate between different brokers, and set pricing over the weekend. And especially when you have major news announcements or breaking news that happens on the weekend that affects prices, the brokers would have an opportunity to perform some sort of manipulation on the back end and say, okay, well, here's where all of our customers are, here's where their stop losses are, so you know, here's what the news was, we're just gonna open the market at this price. Who made you the ruler of the free market, right? That's not capitalism, that is cronyism.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's somebody taking advantage of customers that have no recourse. Customer can't get up and say, hey, why did you set it at that price? Because they're the market maker. They're allowed to do that by law and in practice. And that's something that is amplified when markets are closed, because during the period where the markets are closed, the broker can call up his other broker friend and say, hey, you know, where are you going to set your prices? Where we're going to set our prices, and they just it's coordinated manipulation, basically. Not sure if that's legal or not legal, but who's going to stop them?
Sounds shady to me. I don't know. I kind of feel like that's a little shady.
And so clearly, if Robinhood and NASDAQ are now implementing 24/7 trading via blockchain,
Mm-hmm.
and the major press releases that we see are, oh, you can now trade 24/7, clearly there's been a demand from the market for 24/7 trading. It hasn't been clear, you know, which blockchain they're using. It seems like they're going to be using some sort of a private blockchain, which, if you ask me, that's not really open source. But I mean, is that an advantage of tokenization? Not really. I mean, they could have just opened up 24/7 trading without blockchain, without using the hashtag blockchain,
Mm-hmm.
and they could have gotten away with the same kind of marketing push, but it wouldn't have had that buzzword in there that gives the deceptive feeling of, oh yes, we're using an open source blockchain where it's actually free and fair for everybody and it can be traded elsewhere and blah blah blah. Not what they're doing. They're just trying to implement some sort of marketing push, to get people to trade more on their platforms, which if you ask me, the main indication that we can get from this is that they're scared. They see the storm coming. They see other platforms that can do what they do much better, much faster, and much more efficiently. And even if Apple stock is not going to be recreated as a token ever, newer companies have an option. Do you want to go through Goldman Sachs as an underwriter and do an IPO on the Nasdaq, or do you want to get started with a token on on Farcaster? I will guarantee you that most people building a company out of the garage these days, which is where Apple and Google got their start, they're going to choose the second option.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Closing on the top of the hour here on the Tuesday live stream with Marty Greenspan. Thank you for making time to join me this morning, man, or this evening for you back there in Israel. Final topic I wanted to throw at you in the closing moments, the U.S. dollar. I've seen so much talk and conjecture from former heads or managers of the World Bank to Ray Dalio. It seems everybody and their mom is talking about the death of the dollar, and that's something that we're going to get into on the Spaces coming up today, Trading Tuesday with Mad Hatter and our team of excellent panel traders from, thinking of who's all on the panel today we got coming through, but we have a power panel coming through talking about traders, and we're going to be discussing the death of fiat. Just give me your assessment on the dollar right now. How weak is it in your opinion, and should we be worried?
Well, we got the data in front of us. This is going back to 1972. So definitely end of Bretton Woods. Pretty clear here. The dollar is very close to its lowest point since Trump took office. So what does that say about his politics and his strong dollar policy? He certainly had a strong dollar policy going into his first term, but I didn't really hear him talking about
I
a
don't
strong
think he
dollar.
does. I mean, he said something the other day that kind of concerned me. He said, China's been manipulating their currency for years and manipulating it down. So why shouldn't we? I'm like, oh, that's not the soundbite I was looking for.
Yes, indeed. And so that's why I said in his first term, and in his second term, I don't think that seems to be the case whatsoever. As you mentioned, probably much clearer than I. If he's actually hinting at that, then well, I was pretty effed. Which is why I see gold rising astronomically, and that just makes a lot of sense. I find it very strange that Bitcoin is not taking advantage of this as of yet. I think it will over time, but also Bitcoin is up, 10 bajillion% over the last 5 years. So it's okay if it's sitting this one out. I'm not particularly worried about it, especially the memes online are fairly entertaining. Is the dollar dead completely? And I don't think so. I mean, it still's got a lot going for it, but if they're trying to manipulate it down in order to increase exports, I personally think it's the wrong strategy. I mean, like economically speaking, the U.S. is stronger when there's a stronger dollar because the U.S. dollar is the United States' #1 export. And to try and weaken your own #1 export. I mean, to me, it sounds a bit silly, but maybe there's things that I'm not really seeing here. Honestly, I try not to weigh into economic politics too deeply these days. It's just circle jerk that I don't have time or patience for.
I found this clip from Ray rather interesting and rather revealing. Let's take a listen to what Ray had to say here.
It's the beginning of the end of the monetary system as we know it. It's not just the US dollar, it's the fiat monetary currencies. So the UK, the euro, Japan, China all have similar debt problems and so on, and are dealing with the same interrelationships, which is the reason you're seeing gold being chosen by the central banks. They want a currency. Gold has always been the main currency, and it's the only non-fiat currency, in other words, not the currency that can't be printed, that they want. And so that's why you're seeing central banks move and sovereign wealth funds move to gold, and that's the nature of the shift of the monetary system. It's
There we
the
go. So there's
beginning of the end.
He is absolutely one of the smartest people out there
Yeah.
when it comes to this stuff.
I would just in my commentary on Ray's poster was just substitute Bitcoin in place of gold, and yeah.
Yeah. I remember when we orange pilled Ray the first time, he was doing an Ask Me Anything on Reddit when we used to use Reddit. And there were just so many comments like, what do you think about Bitcoin? And he's like, I don't know. I haven't researched it. Let me go research it. And then he
Let me
came
look
back a
into
few
it.
weeks later and he actually did make a few positive comments about it. I don't know what his stance about it today is, but I would venture to guess he's got at least a few. Look, he's right. And to add on this and bring it full circle to what we've been discussing today, people now have a choice between fiat currencies and cryptocurrencies. And consumers end up choosing wisely. If you're going to choose a currency that is being systematically devalued over one that is built and designed to go up in value over time, I got nothing to say to you. Is it convenience? I don't know. For me, it's a lot more convenient to deal with Bitcoin because I deal with people on the internet all day. It makes sense. 100% of our contractors and 100% of our clients prefer paying in Bitcoin and receiving Bitcoin because it's international and because you can send it anywhere instantly with final settlement. Bank transfers are difficult. I mean, if you're domestic within the United States, you're probably okay. Though I have seen some problems there, but we had a transfer to the UK that the bank just said, the receiving bank just said, no, we're not getting that, and they asked for further clarification, and then they changed their mind a week later. We didn't give them any clarification, nothing. Just, oh, okay, yeah, we'll take it. Why is there even a decision-making process here? Like you've tweeted out earlier today, right? It was I thought that was beautiful. I retweeted you, like,
Thank you.
the banks are asking who you are, and if you have authorization, that Bitcoin doesn't care who you are. It's just do you have access?
Yeah.
And that is a powerful thing. And in my opinion, yeah, if fiat's going to crap, there is a very obvious replacement for that, and I've been advocating for it since 2013.
Kind of feels like that might be the case. The last piece of audio I wanted to share is this one from former World Bank Director Eric Bethel, breaking down the US dollar collapse scenario. This one is pretty alarming, and I think he might be onto something. I'd love to get your thoughts and comments after we take a listen to this piece from Eric here.
The last many, many decades, trade has been conducted using the dollar as the unit of intermediation, right? Whether commodities, the currency that underpinned commodities has always been dollars. So when you buy oil's traded in dollars, whether it's in Saudi Arabia or whether it's in the UAE or whether it's in Indonesia. It's a dollar system. And so the BRICS are saying, why should we have to transit the US dollar to trade soybeans from Brazil to China? Isn't there a way that we can do this internally? They're not going to create a currency, a BRICS currency, but they're trying to figure out how they square away the plumbing, the financial plumbing, so that they don't have to go through the dollar as the intermediary. So that's what's going on.
How does that affect us?
If the dollar isn't the reserve currency, we're screwed. Like, we become, I don't know, Argentina.
We become Argentina is what he says. That does not sit well with me, and I'm sure that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. Your thoughts and comments on what he had to say there, Marty?
Yeah, I saw that one crossing my feed, and I absolutely agree. We become Argentina, we being the United States.
Yeah.
And people think that it can't happen, but the United States wasn't always the superpower that it was. And around the turn of the last century, Argentina and the United States were on equal footing. And Argentina went socialist, and the United States went capitalist, and the rest is history. And so it's not, and like I said, like I've been trying to say, the policy of weakening the dollar, it's absolutely ludicrous. You want a strong dollar. The dollar is your number one export. You want a strong dollar. You want a digital dollar to be able to keep up with demand of today's fast-paced business. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm not in charge over there. I don't have any. I don't have any dog in this fight, as they say. Like if the dollar goes down, sorry for the United States, and sorry for my family over there and friends who live on the dollar. It sucks for all y'all. I do believe that many people are going to be okay as soon as this economy does turn around. Hope that Warsh can kind of come in and stabilize things at least, because the situation over the last 4 years has been, especially with Jerome Powell in charge, has been absolutely horrendous. But yeah, this collapse of the dollar has been really growing lately. I mean, really growing to the point where even my wife is telling me, hey, there's going to be a major financial collapse soon. I mean, and I had one person last week who's like, Mati, the whole system's going to collapse by Sunday. I'm like, really? I'm like, well, take your pills, lady. But no, I mean, she's good. But honestly, like, look, predicting a financial crisis is really like predicting an earthquake. I mean, that one's going to happen every 10, 20 years or so. But you don't know exactly when, exactly how it's going to play out. Nobody can predict it. If it was predictable, there would be a slow, steady decline rather than a complete collapse. And it's not usually how it plays out. Financial crises, they happen slowly at first and then all at once. And that could be in the position where we're at right now.
Looking at that dollar chart you got up there, it kind of looks like that's the case.
Yeah, but in markets, it always pays to be an optimist, because more often financial disaster doesn't happen. So a lot of the time when people are predicting doom and gloom, it's much more likely that things are going to be bright and get corrected in the near term. That said, you need to be prepared for either scenario. And it's not easy for people, who are not abreast of economics to keep updated on this sort of stuff, which is exactly why we're building Cora, so that she can help people navigate complicated financial world that we live in. And what I can absolutely say is that if there is going to be a fiat collapse coming forward, I'll be very happy for the whole world to just rip the Band-Aid off, and out of that will absolutely arise tremendous opportunity. And to me, it feels like we're getting towards the end of this. Those milestones of the changing of the guard, Jerome Powell getting phased out, Mr. Warsh coming back in, the midterm elections, which basically Trump never has to campaign again, and he can just implement whatever policies he feels is best for whatever ulterior motives he might have. But I would guess to cement his legacy after that, which would include righting the economy, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so I do believe that within the next few months we'll be over this. The question is just really how bad does it get before before the turnaround? And the Hasidic masters have a famous saying of, you know, once you're at the bottom, the only way to go is up. The question is just reaching the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you an old story real quick because I know we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
Is that the Baal Shem Tov, which was a famous Hasidic master, studier of Kabbalah, was able to do magic, stayed at this poor people's house, and all they had was their milk cow. And they treated him so well, and all of his disciples so well, and they gave everything they had to them. And on the way out, he was about to get into his carriage. He went to the milk cow and he whispered something in the cow's ear, and the cow collapsed and died. And his disciples are like, "What? What did you just do? That was their only form of sustenance. How could you do that?" He said, "Well, now they're at the bottom, and now their only way is up." And so, as long as that cow was still there, they could continue to pray and, you know, serve God and be content with their situation. As soon as the cow is gone, they have to go out and do something about it to find more sustenance. And that's the beginning of their climb towards, you know, sustainable wealth creation.
Mm. Nice to end on a lesson like that. It's a good one. Well, I think we will put a bookmark in the conversation. Get ready to head on over to the X Spaces here in just a moment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, we'll see you on there. Anybody who's watching, thanks for watching. Come join QE.finance. We'll be glad to have you.
All right. So top of the hour, we will kick off the Trading Tuesday with Mad Hatter and our extremely talented panel of financial advice, but maybe some darn good life suggestions thrown in there. Appreciate you taking the time today, Mr. Greenspan. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure to chop it up with you.
I appreciate you, man.
All right. We'll see you on those spaces. Take care.
Bye.
A lot of people in sort of pop culture thinking that this could be the end.
Yeah, so well, the dip that you're talking about is actually nothing new for Bitcoin. As far as percentage terms go, if we look at it historically, we've seen these types of pullbacks before.